In a previous video I spoke about the four elements, and I gave an overview about the elements of life that are also in us and how that shows in our personality. I'm going to talk about relationship, and particularly intimacy in relationships. So we're talking about one-on-one close relationships and what that looks like from a viewpoint of traditional medicine, using the lens of the fire and the water element profiles. So what do I mean by all that? Traditionally, ancient cultures said that the male energy, whether we're physically a male or we're of a male polarity in the relationship, or if you're in a gay relationship, lesbian relationship, there'll still tend to be one of the partners will have a more outgoing masculine personality flavour, and the opposite will be that's why they attract together, will be more water, so they'll be more feminine or more yin in their personality. And so it's like the polarity of life, which I've talked about before, is always doing this merry dance so that the opposites are attracting. So we say that fire and water attract each other. They're completely different, but they actually need each other to balance. So in a close, intimate relationship where we're talking about physical, sexual connection, intimacy, real true intimacy, I'm going to use the viewpoint of the masculine energy in a man's body for a starter. We say that a man's energy, especially when he gets aroused, is quick. It's like a fire. His sexual forces will rise up very fast, and like a volcano that wants to erupt. So men, traditionally, and even nowadays, if they feel that masculine energy rising in them, they often get strong urges and they want to pursue and they want to get involved with a woman if they're in a heterosexual experience. And that is quite normal for a male to do that. And that fire energy is the energy of life that wants to go out and create. It's very passionate, very desiring. And we need that. And what the male or the masculine polarity in the relationship will do is they will give that fire energy to their opposite, to their partner. And so they will slowly, as they feed and nourish that energy into their partner, they will ignite the fire that's within them. Now the other side of the relationship, which is the water element, is predominantly more known as feminine. The water element has a more calming, quietening, pacifying, receptive. So traditionally, the masculine energy goes outward, or goes out to another. The feminine energy receives in. And if you look at the structure of our body in a sexual act, that's what happens. The male gives out, the female receives in. But what a lot of people don't realise is that we need that opposite energy to come to balance, to find both of those elements within our own selves. So in the Taoist or the traditional Chinese practices, the cultivation of these energies, the fire and the water, was a very sacred and important art. And in order to be able to merge with our partner properly, and when we do that, we actually balance those two opposite energies so that there's not too much fire that burns out very quickly. It's all over and done with in a few minutes, which is unsatisfying to the opposite partner. And there's not too much water where everything is so slow and can get so bogged down and so emotional and so caught up with what everyone else is thinking that it goes nowhere. It's got no direction. So the water needs the fire to give direction and warmth and drive. The fire needs the water to bring balance and equanimity and steadiness so that the fire can continue on and not burn itself out. So what does that look like in an intimate situation? The male energy must merge with the female energy. the male must learn to become more like water. The male, when he unites and comes together with his partner, must learn to slow down and be like water, be more calm, be more steady. Practice breathing exercises in order to control that fire that wants to erupt and burn out of control. And once he learns to do that, then his opposite, his partner, begins to absorb that fire energy and begins to warm up. The partner then becomes aroused. The partner then wants to come in. And so we say that the fire and the water, they're beginning to merge. And they're crossing. They're literally energy currents that go from the base of our spine, and they come up through our spine and they go to the top of our head. In some schools, mystery schools and ancient schools, they call this Kundalini energy, or the fire of life energy. And so sexual energy is Kundalini energy. And once we learn to harness that and work with it and control it, we can experience prolonged, extended, blissful, beautiful union with our partner. And it's much more than just a physically very pleasurable experience. It's a true merging of our heart and our mind and our body, and finally of our souls. So this is the ancient art of cultivating life force, working within the system to bring this energy and bring it into harmony and balance so that the fire and the water come together, creating steam. And when it goes into that state, steam always rises to a higher state of awareness. So in other words, if we do sexual energy properly, we become more spiritual. It becomes a spiritual practice. So more on this later. This is a very deep subject that I'd love to talk more about.